Pride was always sorry, I'm gonna make this a bit taller. Sorry. Pride was always an interesting idea to me that I never felt 100% comfortable with. It was certainly something that you would feel after an achievement, but not something that you would necessarily share. Pride was boastful. Pride was arrogant. And so in thinking about telling the story, I first thought, okay, what is a proud moment that I want to share? And I was like, I'm way too uncomfortable doing that. So instead, I'm going to share with you a moment that I am extremely not proud of, which apparently is a lot easier to share. It's from an area of life that does actually have a lot of proud moments associated with it. Rock climbing, like endurance and overcoming obstacles, like the stuff of motivational posters, right? And so this happened 2 summers ago. My first summer in Toronto. And 3 friends of mine invited me outdoor rock climbing. It was the first trip outdoors of that summer, and I was stoked. I was super excited. I just started outdoor rock climbing the previous summer back in Newfoundland. And I was excited to go with 3 friends who, by the way, I didn't ask them if I could tell this story. So for tonight, they're Larry, Dave, and Steph, not their real names. And they invited me out. And I was really excited. I was excited to go outside, get some more experience setting my own routes, get some more experience using the gear and just becoming comfortable with the whole idea. And stoked to go out with Larry, who I knew had been outdoor climbing for a while. I knew for Dave and Steph this was going to be their first time outdoors. But Larry had done a couple big climbs before, and I was excited to learn from him. So we head out to Lions Head Park in Georgian Bay. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful location. You hike out through the woods, you get to this top of this cliff, you're looking out over the gorgeous Georgian Bay. And we get to our first climbing spot, and I start pulling out all the ropes and carabiners and slings and draws, getting really excited. We start chatting about, okay, how are we gonna set this up? And then some of the suggestions that Larry's making sort of raise my eyebrow. Are you sure you want to do it that way? I mean, like that wouldn't really be redundant. Every time you set up a climbing route, you want to make sure that everything is 100% redundant. If one piece fails, there's something else backing it up. And he says, "Oh, well, I haven't really done this a lot before." What? I haven't really set my own gear that often. Most of the other people I climb with have done it. Oh. And the sudden realization hits me that I'm the most experienced outdoor climber here. And it freaks me out for a minute, and I think, I can't do this. I have 1 summer behind me. I always went out with other climbers. We always had other people who could double check me. What the fuck are we going to do? But I stop and I think, okay, no, I had a great summer last year, lots of experience. I've done this before. I know what I'm doing. They seem comfortable with it. They're excited about it. Let's give it a try. And I take my time and I tie the knots. I untie them. I retie them again, double checking everything, making sure everything's redundant, and going super slow. And the morning sort of progresses, and we get some climbs in, and nobody dies, and it's going well. And as the day goes on, we all get more comfortable. I start also showing them, and I'm sure if I were to step back and watch myself again, as the day wore on, I definitely got more and more smug as my instructional sort of side started kicked in. Well, this is how you tie this knot. And it all started working out. And we move on to a new location. Whereas previously we had been sort of rappelling down the cliff and standing at the bottom, sort of belaying the climber as they climb. The belayer always, hooks the rope into their harness. We moved to a new location that required a different setup where we would actually be belaying from above. So if this is your cliff, we're all up here, climbers down here. We get to the new location. I set up the gear in the new different way where the belayer, instead of clipping to themselves, clips to the anchors. Dave goes first, I belay him. There's actually a whole other story involved with that climb. You'd have to ask Dave. But let's say it happened without incident. He gets to the top, and he's ready to belay for Larry. And again, like I said, we've gotten comfortable. The day's been going pretty good. I decide, hey, I'd really like to get some photos of this. So Larry starts tying in. Dave gets ready to belay, and I say, hey, you guys good? And they're like, yeah, we're good. All right, I'm gonna grab my phone. I hike back into the woods a couple minutes around to another side on another cliff where I can look up to see Larry climbing. I get there just as Larry sort of reaches the bottom of the rappel, pulls the rope out, starts tying in to climb back up. As he's climbing, I'm getting some great shots. It's looking awesome. And I see, oh, his foot slips, and his hand comes off, and he falls. Not a big deal. You fall a lot with climbing. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I see a pair of legs come over the top of the cliff. And everything freezes. I just think to myself, fuck. I'm about to see two of my friends fall to their death. And as quick as it's happened, it stops. And he just hangs there. The legs are just over the edge. I can't see his upper torso, but he's there on the edge of the cliff. And I just start running. And I'm thinking to myself, fuck. Why didn't I check? Why didn't I double check? What am I gonna do? What the fuck happened? How did this even take place? I get to the cliffside. Dave is still on the edge. Steph is helping him. And I see that he is currently, and I brought a prop with me, suspended by this over the edge of the cliff. But luckily, it's holding. Larry gets back onto the wall. We pull Dave back up over the top. And what had happened was so reasonable, and I take so much responsibility for not having double checked, that Dave thought, well, I clip the rope into my harness when I belay. And that's going to be the same in this case. So when Larry fell, the weight pulled on him, and it sort of just so happened that Dave decided to clip in this extra sling for protection, that they didn't both plummet to the bottom of the cliff. And so, this is the moment in my life that I am perhaps the least proud of. I noticed afterwards that in fact it was not so dire as just being one sling protecting them. That was my first reaction, and that was the first judgment I started making. There was the other anchor was still in place. Dave may have fallen over the side, but the ropes would have kept them all in place. They would have just been hanging, and it would have been a lot harder to get them back up. But we sort of shook it off, figured out what went wrong, and continued with our day. And we all learned a lot from that situation. We definitely never climb without a good, solid buddy check. But we all survived. And so that is the story that I decided to share with you. That is somehow easier to share than a moment that I'm really proud of. And I can't exactly tell you why. It must have something to do with believing that getting too confident can lead to disaster. Thanks.